Good day. Testing out the new microphone today. That's kind of the primary reason why I'm making this video, but I'm also just kind of wanting to sit here and chat for a second. Not really focusing on Stormworks today too much. Um, More or less, I want to talk about something like kind of personal that I've been doing recently, and how I've been like managing like all my digital like business stuff and whatnot. And this isn't any form of promotional content. It's just kind of me having like a heart to heart with like kind of like what I've been doing. So if you don't know, I am an engineering student, and I've been going to school for about 3 years now. Just got my associate's degree in engineering, and I'm not planning on stopping there. I'm actually getting ready to continue my schooling, and um, a large part of what I've been doing on the side is like running my own like online business, primarily for like digital art stuff. Um, and it has been like a massive learning experience, not just for like the world of business, but also like regarding myself too. I've learned a lot about myself and like my work ethic and where I struggle a lot um, with like getting work done and like getting past like different blocks, because people like in the writing industry will talk about like, oh yeah, writer's block is like really bad because it's like all your creativity just gone. And I never really saw that as like a huge issue or something I'd ever be susceptible to. And honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest with all of y'all who watches this. It's been brutal. I have gotten stuck many, many times, both doing like the digital art that I have posted up on my online store, and also with like my private commissions that I've done for people. Um, it is brutal just like getting stuck somewhere and not knowing where to go, and you don't see the path of how something's going to turn out. Um, and I'm still trying to get better about, pushing through and finishing my projects and getting to the end, and not quitting and just throwing my, art away just because like I don't like how it's looking at that moment in time. But it is a huge learning experience, and I've been getting past it. Um, it's also going back to like what I've said about my work ethic. It's very difficult. I probably have some form of like undiagnosed ADHD, as do many people in this world. Let's be honest. Um, and it's hard to sit down and focus. And one of the things I wanted to bring to the attention here to anybody who's watching is how much like streaming and like video content can help you focus and like get to the finish line basically. um, a large portion of why I struggle as much as I do is because I'll get distracted and want to do something else. Like I'm playing Stormworks right now as I'm making this video, and whenever I'm making a texture, it's like, oh, I have a cool idea for Stormworks, and it's like, oh, I want to go do that. But it's like, no, I need to finish this art project that I'm working on first, and then I can go do that. And it's been difficult. It's been very difficult learning how to deal with this whenever these things come up. And what I've learned is like streaming can be a great method for helping you get past some of these like blocks or um, like issues with like getting stuff done and staying on task. One of the things I've noticed recently with one of my recent streams, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually getting these textures like done, like start to finish. I'm actually finishing my projects in a decent time frame, and I'm working very quickly, way more effectively than I ever have before. Um, and not only that, it's awesome because then I have like viewers and stuff that are commenting on what I'm doing, and helping me make my art form better and learning new ways of doing things that are more efficient, more effective, which has been really fun. It's been an awesome experience to be able to do that, and to all the viewers that have like seen my streams on the other platform that I stream on. It's I'm very thankful for you all to be able to sit back and like just watch me for a minute and help me stay focused. Because I don't know. Originally, I went into it thinking like, oh, I'm making these textures and these like art projects, and if I stream it, I can make a little bit more money off of like the making process of it. Um, but what I realized, it has nothing to do with that at all. That isn't the thing that's gonna like drive up like revenue or whatever. I'm not gonna hardly make any money from the actual streaming side of it, and what it actually helps me do is stay focused and get my work done more effectively, faster, and better, and then it looks better, and then the end result sells better. So, I guess all in all, it's been an awesome tool to help me like with the actual getting the business done side of the business. Business management's also been like a huge learning curve for me. Many of my friends went to school for business and they're getting business degrees and they are learning this stuff in class. And what I'm finding is a lot of the people that finish their business degrees, at least among the peers that I was working alongside, like they're graduating and then they're not going into business because they're just so burnt out after the classwork. Or they do go into it and then they get stuck in a rut somewhere along their career path. And a lot of the people that are excelling in business management or even like running companies are oftentimes either engineers or people that never went to college in the first place. And I cannot say that I like any of the billionaires in this world. I'm not going to get into that whole topic, but you can't deny that Steve Jobs was a very successful person with Apple. He founded it out of his garage and made it a thing. So did Jeff Bezos with Amazon. They set out to accomplish a thing and they did it. And they weren't big like college people. They weren't even that big into education at all. They were just people that had a dream and they put their mind to it and got there. Which is not to say anything bad about education here. Furthering your education is always valuable. But what I'm finding is like maybe it's not as valuable to me as I originally once thought, and I'm kind of reprioritizing some of my life goals. Because, yeah, don't get me wrong, engineering's cool and I want to do that, but I'm finding that you don't really need an engineering degree to go into, like, computer engineering, which I'm fascinated by technology, as y'all have seen. I've made a whole hour-long rant about it on this channel. I really like technology, and I like getting into it, and I want to design my own stuff. I've been wanting to put together the funding to build a custom 16-inch like framework 3-in-1 laptop using their 16-inch laptop components. So you get like the same modularity built upon the same fundamentals, but then you have a 16-inch touchscreen laptop similar to like the Asus Z13 or your Surface models, just with an actual discrete GPU, and then making stuff modular, kind of like a hybrid between a CyberDeck and the same modularity that framework and repairability the framework is focusing on. I don't have that type of money laying around. I'm still a broke college student, but that's a project that is still a dream of mine. And you don't need a degree to do any of that. There is no like major safety tests that you have to like go get like write-offs and stuff for, at least that I know of. Yes, you have to send stuff through like FCC certification if you're going to be selling it at scale and whatnot. But like there isn't a whole like ordeal that goes into it that states you need to have certifications for it like you do with like building bridges and buildings. And not to diss on any of those people that do that. To anybody who's building the bridges out there and building these skyscrapers and all these other cool things in our society, keep doing that. We need you. What I'm saying is I don't know if my life plan is really focused towards that, and it's not really my dream to build bridges and build skyscrapers and these other things that originally was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that one day. So overall, in this heart-to-heart that I'm kind of like focusing on here, I guess I'm not as interested in some of the things that I originally set out to do with my life. And now I'm focusing more on things that I would rather want to do, things that might not even be feasible, but things that might be possible, things that I can work on and focus on, and still, make a decent living doing. Okay, that's way too loud. My apologies. The things that get me to like the same end point in my life. I want to do something I love, and I want to make things that people get to use and interact with on a daily basis, and still try to like bring back a little bit of like what made, like, for instance, like intro level like console gaming and whatnot whenever it was like happening during the Xbox 360 days, where it wasn't just simply a cash grab and they actually cared about the consumer. That's some of the things that I want to focus on in my lifetime. Um, but I don't know if I'll ever, get there type of deal. And I don't foresee this plan that I'm currently on working out to do that. I feel like this is just going to lead to me working for a big company like Boeing and stuff, or another big corporation that does high level engineering that's just here to make things to like either transport people somewhere like in very greedy fashion, or you know, unalive people at mass scale, because that's like what all of the big businesses do anymore. They just make technology to like do terrible, terrible things in this world. Not to say that we don't need that, and I'm not gonna get into that topic either, but I'm not one to want to do that with my life, if that makes any sense. Um, I want to focus on things that I want to do and carving the future that I want to set for myself. Um, and that's kind of why I turned to digital art. There's like creativity in me, and that was a cool outlet to explore it. Um, and I bring a lot of cool ideas to the table that may have not been there before. I do have a unique art style, as I've been told, and I like to focus on that. But no, kind of just wrapping up this like mini rant here and just kind of having this heart to heart. I plan on making more and more content, and all of it's going to continue to be random and probably as low quality production as it is now, because I don't really focus on like production quality all that much. It's like if I have an idea and I want to get it out there, I'm just going to get it out there and get to the important stuff first and not really worry about quality. And that's kind of like what I've done with my Stormworks tutorials, for instance. It's like, no, I'm not going to focus on like a super long intro or have sponsorships or anything like that. It's like, I'm just going to get you the content that I want to deliver to you as fast as possible, and that will result in lower editing quality, and probably just me long-windedly ranting in between loading screens. But no, it's this is what I do now, and I don't foresee myself straying from this. I know I've gotten comments on a couple of my videos of many of you viewers saying like, yes, I like what you're doing, keep doing it. And I really hope that that is true for a lot of the people out there, breaking away from like the short form media content as much as possible. Not to say that I won't make shorts at some point. I'll probably have clips of some variety at some point. But, I want to be able to get educational stuff out there and, show some cool stuff to the world. Maybe show a different perspective on building something in a game, or whatever it may be. And again, I don't want there to be like a million minute long intro to like some video just to where you can get to the content. And I don't want it to be like a whole like, alright, now I have to search to this 30-minute video to find out the part that I need. It's like, I'm going to cover a very specific idea and then move on with life. Like if I was to do a vehicle build series, which I've been thinking about doing in Stonework, just like a simple vehicle build series, for like one of the multi-vehicles that I typically tend to build, I'm going to do it in many, many, many parts, and it's going to be a lot of like shorter videos. So it's like, oh, we're covering hydrofoils. Okay, that's going to be a 7-minute video that has nothing else in it except for like maybe some of the other concepts that like revolve around it, like getting power to like propellers and stuff, maybe. But the main focus of the video is going to be hydrofoils, and you won't have to search around through the video a whole bunch to find the important part of what you want to learn from it or what you want to see. That being said, I'm still probably going to make some cool like tech rants and stuff, and I have been inspired by like other media channels to do like podcasting and stuff just to cover like some of the tech news in this space. I'll be honest, Linus Tech Tips has been, as controversial as some people are about him, he's been a point of inspiration for me. Again, it was another story of a guy who started out doing working at a typical 9 to 5, and he's like, oh, I want to make YouTube videos. And he set out to do it, and he did it, and now he has a whole media company. and it's not really a media company anymore. It's more of like an umbrella corporation at this point because they cover so many things. It's like, oh, you want some good USB-C cables? They have them. You want some good clothing? They have it. You want to watch some videos? They do it. You know, they cover so many things. And not to say that they've had some lapses in judgment recently, quite heavily, with many of the people saying that you've lost like where you originated from. And that's something I don't want to do. Here, but you know, at some point, like if I start doing like more and more stuff and I start making more income, like there is going to be some scaling differences where it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing cheap, you know, build tutorials here, and as more money comes in, maybe I do start to focus on production quality, but I don't want to lose my core values, like some other channels have. But yeah, you know, all of it aside, I really care about every viewer who, you know, watches my content immensely. Not because eventually I want to make money here. I care because I don't expect people to watch my content. Whenever I had seen like my first like decent video from Stormworks, the hydrogen power tutorial, day one basically when hydrogen power came out, like I got like 200 some views on it, and I'm like, that's crazy to me, because this is a huge issue here. I'll just side tangent just for a second. YouTube videos get views, right? And like if you get 1,000 views on a video, it's hard to quantify, but imagine all 1,000 people in a room. It's like, whoa, that number now seems a whole heck of a lot bigger. Like that's a lot of people. Like you could fill a whole auditorium with that many people. Which is why I'm like, it means a lot to me, because like I do have some like resemblance of like how much like 200 people is. You know, like that's a lot of people that sat down and watched my video and learned something from it. As you know, the comments even stated, they're like, wow, this is, you know, a good tutorial. It's like, you know, it helped teach somebody something. I'm sure somebody got, you know, some valuable knowledge from it. And it means a lot to me because, you know, people did watch it. People did get valuable knowledge from it. Something that I put out there. Something that I did. But, and that's not to say I don't have, like, you know, quite a few more ambitious projects and stuff lined up. Like, one of the things I want to do is, like, get into, like, maybe a little bit, like, VR content. Like, I mean, I recently posted a Unity tutorial about, like, some, you know, VR chat-related stuff. And I play that game quite a bit. Have way too many hours in it, I'm going to be honest. One of the things I want to do is take my same methodology of, like, what I like to do with, like, 3D stuff that, or, like, 3D stuff that I design, 3D print stuff. It's like, I want to open source it. You know, I want people to be able to get their hands on it and experience it. And I want to make a club world, not only for the community that I have on Discord or whatever. You know, I do have some sort of a following there. But it's like, I want to create, like, a club world for, you know, people to go to party at, and to, like, watch videos at, or whatever, you know, it gets used for. But I'm going to open source it, and it's going to be free. Which is going to be insane, because to my knowledge there is no other open source free club world on the platform that people can just go download and use for their community. And it's something I want to get out there and do. I want people to be able to download this thing that I've created, take the ideas that I've put there, expand upon it, you know, report back to me and say, hey, look, I've made these improvements, and then I can make those be in the official update, and then, you know, give credit to, like, hey, this person helped with this update. And, you know, put that out there. And let it grow. You know, Lorax memes aside. Disney, please don't copyright this video. Please don't destroy me. Or wait, was that Disney or was that DreamWorks? Gosh, now I'm mixing up my company. See, this is how little I am with, like, entertainment. I think it's DreamWorks, my bad. Hold on. Now I need to know. It was Illumination Entertainment. My bad. I was wrong on both. Illumination Entertainment made that movie. Sorry. but they're a big company too. Please don't sue me and don't obliterate me. Um, but no, it's like I want open source development. Unfortunately, gets kind of a bad rap, especially here in the States. Um, it is technically communism. So advocating for open source development is technically advocating for communism. And that's why it seems to get such a bad rap. But in the space of programming, 3D modeling, and stuff, I think we shouldn't necessarily look at it like that, because you're not dealing with like critical infrastructure things like food and water. You're simply just working on a passion project that people can enjoy, and open sourcing something there is, of no harm to, people. It's just I'm sharing my intellectual property or whatever I'm designing with multiple people, and kind of like really blurring the lines of what is intellectual property and what is, public domain. Um, it's like I still want people to know that I built this thing, and I still want people to know that, like, hey, I had a major part in it, and like its design and whatnot. But I also want people to know that it's okay to use it. And many people will look at me. I've been told this by many business majors. Doing that, you won't make any money, and you're going to be poor your entire life. And to which I say, I'm like, no, there's other ways of making money from making stuff, public domain. It's like I can make a console. I've been wanting to design a gaming console for quite some time as like a Steam machine competitor. Heck, Steam encourages this, and I want to do that. And then open source the entire thing. People are like, well, if you open source it, people can just build it themselves. And I'm like, you're forgetting one aspect. Like, many of my friends are like, well, if you build a computer that's open source, basically, people are just going to build it themselves if you're using off-the-shelf components. Yes, they will, and many people will build it because it will be cheaper, because it won't be manufactured by me. But there's still a lot of people out there that just want to be able to go buy a console or a computer that just simply works out of the box, that they don't have to mess around with. And that's the thing that I feel like a lot of people forget with like public domain things, is like you can still produce your product and have it be open sourced and still make enough money to get by. Now, am I going to make as much money as making a closed source like gaming console, removing like the video game disc from like production and getting rid of that and swapping to all digital and locking my players into like my platform, and then like also like blacklisting all my exclusives from PC and making sure that they can only play it on my specific console, where they have to pay a subscription every month to play, and then announcing that the next console is going to be sold at cost, or not at cost but well over its profit margin, and then like completely invalidate the need for like the paid service for playing online, and then like also try to milk as much money out of my consumer as possible. I think we all know what company I'm talking about, or what two companies I'm talking about at this point in time. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to get actually obliterated and sued, so I'll let you use your imagination. But it's like, it's the value proposition of like why gaming consoles are like there in the first place is starting to become very far and few between. As many people have even stated, they did a big survey of people that play on a certain gaming console. I'm not going to name which one because again, I don't want to be a target for any of these big corporations. But somebody did like a big analysis, and a lot of their gamers are seriously considering, is what they listed. They said that they're seriously considering swapping to computer, even though they would lose access to all of their exclusives. And the only reason why they wanted that, and some of their footnotes that they made, was that many of them stated that they're tired of big corporation locking them into this ecosystem and not promoting a better consumer focused market. Where they prioritize just making every single dollar out of their people. And I get it. Every company has to make money. At the end of the day, that's what a company is there for. I get it. But you also have to consider, it's like if you eliminate all of your value to what makes you good for the consumer and makes people like your company, yeah, this might make your investors happy in the short term. But what is the long-term consequence of this? I can tell you, these companies are already experiencing it. If you go look at like any of the major publicly traded companies that make gaming consoles and stuff, they're currently going down right now. Not just to like AI retracting a little bit in the market and this and that. No, they are actively like disintegrating right now because they cannot continue like getting the value. And investors liked the initial investment, and now that they got their return on it, they're like, all right, now that this system's completely done and I made my money, I'm pulling the plug on it. This is the problem with like public investing, and like why it's like so bad for like stuff that people use, like gaming consoles and stuff, because as soon as like sorry, let me go back. Any publicly traded company has a lot of like people that are like having say in what's being done, and those people are just in it to make money. A lot of like investors are extraordinarily greedy. Not saying all of them, but a lot of them. And in that case, what ends up happening is they want to make as much money as possible, and as soon as they're happy, they pull the plug on whatever they're investing in and take their profits and leave and go and invest in something else. You can see this with like big investment firms, like anything to do with private equity. If you see private equity anywhere, just know that they're like the reason why like a lot of these companies are like falling apart. Private equity will come in and look at a small business like myself, like what it's doing, buy it out, gut everything, sell off everything, and just make it a terrible, terrible thing, like, and ruin like everything it stood for, just enough to where it's like, okay, everything's perfect now, the company's doing just good enough to make a return on my investment, and then they put it up for IPO and sell it off to the next biggest loser. And then it becomes a publicly traded company, and then everything falls apart. This is why Steam being privately like traded, or they're on the private market, not on a public market. So Gabe Newell has like all the say. Their board of directors has all the say. It's not like an investor gets to come in, buy out 50% of the company, and then he gets all the say, or he or she gets all the say. It's not like that. So then that's why Steam is succeeding so hard, because they can simply do whatever they want. They don't have to answer to investors. Because like legally, if you are a publicly traded company, you have to abide by your investors' wishes. That is the law in the United States. I'm not going to quote law directly, and I'm not a lawyer here, and I'm not going to give legal advice. But what I do know is when you become a publicly traded company, you have to uphold some of your investors' wishes. So much so to the point that can actually supersede other laws like anti-monopoly and antitrust stuff, where you have companies like Microsoft getting in trouble for buying up a whole bunch of game studios, but then whenever it comes to the actual court case hearings, Microsoft was like, we're just doing whatever our investors tell us, and then they're just in the clear. It's like, that was the thing that happened at Microsoft. Like, that was like literally how that court case went, and then everybody moved on with life. So like, private equity is a terrible, terrible thing, and then public trading is like, yeah, it's great because anybody can like make money. Like, that's how retirement accounts like typically work and stuff. And I encourage it. Everybody should like save for their retirement and stuff. But at the end of the day, whenever I'm buying a product, if I know it's coming from a publicly traded company, it makes me think twice before I buy into it, because now I have to start looking into where is the trajectory of the product that I'm buying in the next 4 to 10 years. That's like whenever I bought the tablet that I'm currently on. I got this, and I was already looking at like, how long is this device going to last me? Where is this going to get me to? And is this going to be repairable in the next 4 to 10 years? Is there going to be any parts availability? And the answer to that was no, but the value proposition and the performance to efficiency met what I needed it to do, and it works for what I needed it to do long enough, at least for the next 4 years, for me to have spent as much money as I did on it. But to somebody who's wanting an even longer path, they're probably going to go buy a framework, because that way they have a guaranteed upgrade path probably for the next 10 years. My only issue, though, is with framework, they haven't been around long enough to prove that they're actually going to deliver on their mission. They're still a newer company to me, so whenever I'm looking at whatever they say on their like repairability stuff and saying that, yeah, we have this plan, well, you don't have the last 10 years to back up what you're saying. Like, is the Framework 13 actually going to be around for the next like 10 years? I have no idea, because your company has not been around long enough to prove anything you're saying. I'm only able to take your word at face value. And to me, in the world of like corporatism and stuff that's happening right now, I cannot take anything these big businesses say seriously. Which is why it just leads to me looking at small businesses that actually care and have passion about what they're doing. I look at them a little bit better. And Framework seems to have a lot of passion behind what they're doing, but they're taking on quite a lot of like private investments and stuff, and I'm really starting to question where they're going with their company. And me as a small business person who's like, trying to like figure out my own personal issues with like running a business and seeing this business side of it, I see how it can go from company being good and like really focusing on the consumer to, oh yeah, somebody's gonna buy it out and make it this terrible, terrible thing. Because when somebody offers you a lot of money to buy out what you're doing, it's kind of hard to say no, especially if like you're in a slump. And investors will wait until you're in a slump to where you're really questioning what you're doing, and that's when they're gonna attack because they're very predatory with how they function. Um, So, yeah, long story short, wrapping back to like what I originally like set out to like discuss here. As a small business, like all of this stuff is like going in. Like everything I've talked about here is really going into like what I'm doing and where I'm focusing on and like how I'm, functioning. And there's a lot of me questioning what I'm doing along the way. And it's definitely difficult sometimes. But as I've been, moving and, continuing what I do, um, I've been learning to just, have faith in what I do. And, the rest will come naturally, I hope. Um, I'm not one for really, like, believing in luck. A lot of what I'm going to be doing is, relying on me putting in the hard work. And that's okay, because I'm prepared to put in that hard work. Because I want to make my dream happen, especially if it's a dream that I'm carving out for myself. And to anybody who is watching this, I want you to know that if you do have a dream and you want to make your own, like, livelihood, you want to set out and, like, build your own path, know that it is risky. And it's probably going to come and bite you in the rear very, very hard many, many, many times. And it's going to hurt. There's going to be setbacks. Starting a business is not easy, and doing what you love can be easy, but just know that once you start to turn it into a business, there's going to be a lot of days that you start to question, is this really what I love doing anymore? And that's okay. It's okay to question what you're doing. Just know that you have to stick with it, and you have to continue pushing forward. But at the same time, if you start to find yourself in that place where you just don't enjoy doing it anymore because you're just burnt out on everything you're doing, and like the work you're putting into it just makes it feel like it's too much of a job rather than what you love, it's okay to go back to it just simply being your hobby and not it being this huge ordeal where you have to put, all of your time and effort into it every single day. You can step back, you can downsize whenever you need to. And it's okay to be stuck for a minute, And when you are stuck, you should take the time to think it through and really analyze what's happening and what you can do personally to make your life easier and help you focus on what needs to happen. There's nothing wrong with stepping back for a minute. I have to do it all the time. Anytime I'm working on something, I have to step back and say, am I doing this the right way? Am I really, is there a better way that I could be doing this? Like with my YouTube stuff here, it's like, am I really like doing these videos right? Should I, up production quality? Should I focus on like having the long intros? Should I continue using like the method that people say works? Like, should I? And as I question that, I begin to realize, like, no, I just need to keep doing what I'm doing, because as people have already stated, that's what they like to see. People like what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue doing it. And, all changes, that changes. People, want to see something different. If people want to see more Stormworks, or people want to see me play, different games, if people have, like, recommendations for me, I'll check it out. That being said, I'm not going to play a game that I don't like. But, if people want to see, me do something very, specific on Stormworks, like, I talked about doing a build series with this vehicle that I'm currently driving, like, making a version 2 to it. And, yeah, I would love to do that. And I'm sure that there's people in the community that would love to see it. And I'm here for it. The thing is, I'm going to do what people express interest in as well as also working on my own personal projects. Heck, if you go look at my storefront on Jinxie, which is, like, online digital platform that I've been selling all, like, my 3D art stuff on, if you go look over there, that's the stuff that I wanted to do. That's not the designs that somebody else wanted me to do. That's not the designs that, I set out to, do for somebody else. No, those are art pieces that I was like, I want to do this, I want it to look this way, and I made it that way. But I'm still open to do what other people want, and that's where, me taking private commissions come in. It's like I take private commissions and I do stuff that people want to look a very certain way. And I'm willing to put that same level of work and effort into what I'm doing here on my YouTube channel, as well as what I'm going to be doing on streaming. It's like, if people want to see something specific, sure, I'll look into it. And I'll see, I'll look at what the logistics are, and I'll get back to y'all. And as this, thing grows, it's like I don't want to lose sight. I want to be down to earth. I don't want to be big, YouTuber that's like, oh yeah, I have like 70 million followers or whatever, and like that's everything to me. I'm not here to chase clout. I'm here to do what I want to do and be entertaining to people and hopefully teach somebody something along the way. A lot of what I'm going to be doing is more educational focused, as you can tell, like with some of my tutorials for like Stormworks. It's like I focus more on the educational side of it. It's like I want somebody to be able to look at my stuff and learn something from it. And I hope that this video has, maybe in an educational way been able to help somebody that's out there maybe looking at, starting their own business or whatever, have a different, outlook on it. I'm not here to sell you something. I'm not going to sell you a guide to business. I'm not qualified to do that anyways. But, maybe this video that I'm actively making right now is able to, give somebody some, inspiration or some advice to maybe look at something a little bit differently and maybe help them get past, like, their block or whatever, you're experiencing. That being said, this video is it's lengthier than I wanted it to be, as many of my sit-down rants are going to be. I'm sure these long-form media videos, I hope that they are somewhat entertaining, and I hope that playing them in the background, as I'm sure everybody's going to do with this video, is entertaining, and I hope that y'all have a great day. I hope that everything's going good for y'all. That being said, no more cringy outro. I'm not gonna get sentimental with the outro. We ain't doing that. I almost did there for a second, and now it's turning into a Midwestern goodbye. Hey, can't fault me from the Midwest. It's just a thing that happens. So let me go grab the Tupperware. I'll make sure we save you the leftovers and send you on your way. Alright. Thank you for watching. I'm out of here.